Do you want to know how your agency is doing based on its numbers? I want you to check out askquick.ai. This is something you can try out for free. Basically, just click one button, connect it to your QuickBooks, and actually ask it questions like, what are the red flags in my agency? How is my agency doing? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And it actually gives you CFO advice rather than hiring an expensive outsourced CFO or a full-time CFO. Try it out now. Go to askquick.ai. Try it out for free. You're listening to the Smart Agency Masterclass with me, Jason Swank, and we're bringing you this episode courtesy of our friends at Wix Studio. Let's go ahead and get into the show. Hey, Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Jason. Good to see you.
Yeah, tell us who you are, what you do.
My name's Josh. As Jason just said, I am the founder of a company called CoFrame. We are helping companies continuously optimize their digital experiences and websites. For this, I started a company called Autograph. We scaled this to a couple $1 billion within the course of a couple of years, had an amazing growth marketing team, which I'm pulling a lot of inspiration from. And prior to all that, and actually also currently, I'm a huge AI nerd. I did a bunch of research in AI at Stanford, currently still teach there from time to time. And it's just so cool to see this amazing technology applied in real world use cases.
Cool. With the first company, did you guys sell that or you still have that? What's going on with that?
Yeah. So first company, I didn't mention this one. My first real company was called Access. And this is a company that we ended up selling to a company called Tata Group, which is a big conglomerate in India. And with Autograph, the last company that I started, we just merged with another company and it's still going. The combined entity is still going.
Very cool. And how did you guys get started on that?
So the idea for Autograph came about, I would say more or less with what was happening in the world. And I was really fortunate that my co-founders for that company are super plugged into the entertainment scene. They're able to really make a lot of these initial relationships happen that made Autograph move super quickly. But it was a moment in time where there was a lot of excitement about this new technology in the crypto world, and a lot of well-known names, celebrities, athletes, musicians, etc., wanted to get involved and figure out how they could participate in this and sort of do so with their fans. But it's a new technology. A lot of the companies out there were sort of, I would say, like CD or, just not at the bar of reputation that they would expect. And so the opportunity that we identified was, let's be that company that has the right people on board, the right processes, and just try to usher in this new era of trusted engagement in this new technology environment. So that's what we did. We executed on that. And yeah, over the course of a couple of years, we brought on a lot of really, really fantastic partners and kind of made it to what it was.
And was this your idea?
No, the most recent iteration of it was not my idea. I was the first person to kind of bring, I suppose, the crew. There's just really two of us, I suppose, or three initially, together through actually a fund. We had this idea to start an investment fund as I was kind of thinking about what to work on next after Access was winding up. And I was trying to think about what that thing would be. And one of the things that I was jamming on was this trading strategy where we were actually using natural language processing, which is what's powering all of the LLM revolution today. That's what my research was on at Stanford, to do trading. And so, yeah, kind of had a friend at Stanford named Nick who, we started jamming on this, and then he pulled in his friend Dylan, who eventually became my partner at Autograph and co-founder. And we jammed on this for a while. Then we started investigating crypto as a asset class to trade within. And then Dylan got really interested in NFTs, which were this sub area of crypto, which is also where all these personalities were trying to get involved as well and navigate. And we both were hey, we're operators. We're not investors. Let's do what we love to do and build something. And that's kind of how it came about.
That's cool. I haven't heard much from NFTs in a long, long time. Are they still around?
They're still around for sure. I mean, they're never really going to go away unless the entire internet or Ethereum blockchain goes away. But unfortunately, the market is largely kind of depressed right now. It's been sort of dead for the last 2 years or so, unfortunately. I think it has a good sign of coming back given the utility of the technology. But crypto is cyclical. I've been through like 3 cycles now with crypto. I'm sure it'll come back, just like a matter of when.
I'm also curious. I mean, one of your partners with this company was someone that my son does not like at all because he came back on Atlanta from on the Super Bowl. Like he's still like he was like 10 at the time, and he's still steaming about it. So, how did you get Tom as a partner?
Yeah, so that was a really fortuitous thing as well. So Tom Brady, he's NFL legend, very busy guy, but also very interested in innovation, technology, and so on. It's very at the forefront of a lot of those types of things. So we had built a little bit of momentum, and what's actually the great part is that my original co-founder Dylan and his dad Rich had lived next door to Tom Brady for like years, and so they weren't at the time living next door to each other, but they were still connected. And so we had made a little bit of progress and said, "Hey, this is something we think you might be interested in. Let's jump on a quick call." And we hop on a call with him. I remember he was like sitting in the back of a van or something like that, or SUV at one of his like training sessions or something like that, and talk to him about it. He gets excited and just keep the ball rolling. And it would end up being the case that he doesn't necessarily just want to invest, but also partner more deeply and be a co-founder. So that's how that got started. And then from there, he was obviously able to really help.
Yeah, he has connections.
Yeah. It turns out crazy thing you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Well, I mean, I wanted to ask you that just because a lot of people, you're never going to get on base if you don't at least get up to bat or ask people or go, who is my dream client that I want, or who is my dream person I want on board with my agency, my business, and figure that out. And then just
people
ask.
Are so much more approachable than you expect.
Yeah.
Like they're all just people, and they're all like, interested in interesting new conversations for the most part, unless they're like crazy busy. But even the most busy people, like they're not busy all the time, so like, it's just sometimes it's about getting lucky, but just being a person to them is everyone's just another person,
What I've figured out over the years too, people always want what they don't have or what they're not great at yet. Athletes want to be rappers or entrepreneurs. Singers and rappers want to be athletes, right? I think it's just like they always want something different. But the common theme, especially with a lot of these famous people, I think they want to be business people. And they want to treat that, business as a game. And that's kind of how I've always approached most of our businesses that we've had is it's just a game, right? Like I look at all of businesses monopoly. If I blow it up, okay, I blew it up, start over. Just try again. It's not my identity. That took me a long time to realize that of going, oh my God, I sold my agency. I sold my soul.
I'm still wrestling with that, to be honest.
Really? It still identifies that?
It's hard, especially when things aren't going well. It's like every waking moment. It's just it's something I'm still struggling with for sure.
One of my coaches in the past, Todd Herman, he was the one that helped Kobe Bryant come up with the Black Mamba personality. And I remember him telling me, he's like, look, when people sell a company, they feel like what you just said, Jason, like, I sold my soul, or how you feel like Josh, right? But you're identifying yourself as an agency owner, a tech entrepreneur, whatever. But if you really look at it going, that's not what you are. You're creative, you're innovative, and all of these things that allowed you to get to that, then you're like, okay, right? Like I'm a podcaster, I'm creating content, I'm innovating, all these different things. I can use this for any of that. That's my personality, not what I'm doing currently is my personality, if that makes sense. And when he explained that to me, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not depressed anymore.
Yeah, it's easier said than done, but yeah, I totally agree with that take 100%.
you've had multiple companies. Do you feel like when you sell one, and this is how I felt, like when I sold one, I'm like, I'm never going to get to that level again. Or, man, that bar was set really high. How do I get back to that? Do I want to do it? Because then I could be going toward disappointment.
I think about that a little bit sometimes. For instance, like we were able to drive a lot of value really, really quickly. And it took us like a year or so, no, just over a year, I think, to become a unicorn. And then we're more than a year in with CoFrame, and we're not a unicorn yet. And we're not doing bad. We're doing great, but like it's not been that fast. And so, I mean, I do think about that sometimes. I'm like, oh dang, like why am I not going as fast as I did last time? But I think what it comes down to is looking at like, instead of looking at, I would say, like vanity metrics and things that are proxies to value, like it's important to like be really close to the actual value that you're driving, and also like have that long-term vision in mind. So maybe it's a slower burn. Maybe it like just takes longer, but you have a larger vision at the end of the day.
Yeah, I struggle with that, right? Like you'll have a great month and you're like, God, that was an amazing month. And then like, I got to restart this all over again.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the vanity metrics and you're going, son of a bitch. And then, especially if you have the stupid dashboards of the vanity metrics, you're like, oh man, I'm 30% under where we were this time last year, or 30% where we were last month. And you're constantly looking at that versus thinking longer term. I just think that's really hard. I know that's really hard for me to think more longer term.
Yeah. I know. I agree with that as well. And the other challenge is if you're thinking too much about the long term, then you're not like executing in the moment, and that's not good either. So it's a super interesting balance. Like you kind of need to like figure that out, based on your rhythm.
Yeah, it's constantly a battle.
Yeah. Something I found really helpful with that is, and I've been like, I've been like evangelizing this to a ton of my friends, is flotation sessions.
What the heck is that?
Yeah.
Are you getting high in California and floating?
No. No, I'm not into that. But so I just discovered it recently. So there's this thing called a float tank, or a sensory deprivation chamber.
Oh, it is a tank. Okay.
Yeah, it's literally a tank. Yeah. And it's water that's highly saline, it's very high salt content. And you have water to roughly the same temperature as your body, which is roughly the same temperature as the air. There's no light, there's no sound. And you're just in there floating on your back, feeling weightless, feeling like you're in space for, I don't know, it can be an hour, it could be 2 hours, could be more. And those sessions I've done I do one probably every 2 months now, started late last year. And each time I have one of those, I feel like I'm able to think more deeply than I ever could in any other environment. Yeah, you're like it's almost like you're in that lucid dreaming state between sleep and awake, but like for an extended period of time. And you can also consciously control the process of thoughts. And I found that to be just instrumental at like taking a step up and then having a higher level view of things, and being able to think of that 30,000 foot view, see the forest through the trees, which is hard to do when you're like in the moment. Even when you have like, you're on the weekend, you don't have meetings or as many meetings, and you're resting, you're still probably, I mean, at least me, I'm still very much like in the weeds, thinking about work, probably doing work. It's just hard to like get that time to reflect. But that's something I found immensely helpful. And I've like shared it with a bunch of friends, and many of them have found it quite useful as well.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I would probably take a gummy and go in there. I mean, like, come out like, wow, this is totally different.
That's the next level. Yeah, go try that next.
I actually started thinking about something like that, right? Like when I'm the most creative, and it's in states where I'm doing something that requires attention. Like when I go flying, like that requires a lot of attention to not die. But a lot of times when we're going from point A to point B, it's on autopilot. I'm still monitoring everything around the aircraft, everything. But my mind is on, but I can think of other things, right?
Yeah.
Right? Or the same thing happens when I go running. I'm concentrating on one step at a time, but your brain's almost like kind of on autopilot.
Yeah.
But then that's when I come up with the best thoughts. Like if I just sit somewhere I'm not a person that can go to a beach. It drives my wife crazy. Like she loves going to the beach, just laying out, doing nothing. Like, I can't do that. I was like, how can I build the biggest sandcastle?
Yes.
Right. And then like, how do I do something, movement? And that's when I come up with my best ideas.
That is awesome. I fully agree with you. I haven't really carved out activities where I can do that. I'd love to fly. My dad's a pilot, and so is my mom. And I haven't gotten my license yet, but maybe one day that'll be one way I can get that flow state. I guess I've been in long drives before where it's been similar.
Yes, that works too, right? Like you're like, how did I get here? Like you don't remember any of the streets or any of that.
Yeah.
You didn't hit anything. Your brain's on autopilot, but you're thinking of all these other things.
Yeah, for sure.
Look, your agency adapts for every client, right? Your builder should do the same. That's why Wix Studio is built for the way you actually create. AI-powered site mapping lets you get straight down to the design. Whether you shape things in Figma or start in Studio, your vision's coming to life quicker with no-code animations and built-in responsiveness. And for client growth that actually scale, you've got extendable business solutions and a dynamic CMS. Scale your agency at wixstudio.com.
I do want to talk to you about AI, right? Obviously, really kind of in our agency mastermind, that's really all we've been talking about, right? Of like, and AI is so much more than just a chatbot. How do you look at AI? Where do you think it's actually going? And are you worried about it?
Oh man, that's three really, really big questions. Yeah. So let me start from the end. Am I worried about it? I approach things generally speaking with optimism. So they take this with a grain of salt, but to a large extent, I think we have, at least for the next several years, we as a society have control of our destiny. And I think that there are people will complain and bicker about how the management and government doesn't work and so on. I think we actually, will be able to figure out our way. There will be governance. There will be a navigation through the coming intelligence explosion that we're going to be experiencing. I'm optimistic about it. I don't think it's the only possibility. I think there is a distinct possibility where it goes poorly. And there are a number of resources that you can go to kind of like research this on your own. Leopold Aschenberger has a great essay on this, which is called Situational Awareness. Definitely recommend checking that out. There are distinct possibilities where this does not go well. But I'm optimistic that things will, and we'll be able to adapt, stay ahead of the curve, and make this truly useful for us. Where I think, how do I use AI? I think that's one of those areas that I think probably my experience can be useful to a lot of people in their own agencies, where basically the way that I approach building with AI is first I understand a process really deeply and do it myself as a human. And once I've become an artisan, we have this saying at CoFrame, which is first we are artisans, then we are automators.
And what is an artisan? An
artisan is someone who has thought and craft around what they're doing. They have a taste that's built, and they can, I would say another distinct characteristic of an artisan is that they can take on an apprentice. So it's someone who is able to not only perform the task well, but also to explain how the task is performed to someone else. If you can do that, think of AI as, at this point, for different types of tasks, varying levels of maturity, obviously. But for knowledge-based tasks, it's like a PhD level. For execution-based tasks, doing stuff on the internet, it's probably a 12-year-old level or so. But it's still capable. And so if you're able to teach someone to do something, and you also have, crucially, good AI knowledge, and that's not necessarily like a mystical skill that you have to go way up into the mountains for 5 years and meditate and figure it out, have it come to your head. This is something that can be learned through just working with the tools, getting in there, like using ChatGPT, but then also using code generation tools and so on. So once you have that knowledge of how to use AI and how to leverage it and wield it, and then you also have the ability to teach a skill, then you can assess how likely am I going to be successful at teaching AI to do that task. And for some things like, you're going to you're going to assess that it's not going to be feasible, like at least today with today's models. And they're changing all the time. Like Grok 4 just came out last night. Apparently it's beating everything on all the benchmarks. And so I'm really excited to see what new use cases are possible with it. But like the point there is that the landscape changes very rapidly and you need to stay on top of it. But there are going to be some things that is just, not really feasible right now. For us at CoFrame, one of the things that we haven't fully automated yet is the idea of coming up with great experiment ideas. So, to give you some additional context of what we're doing at CoFrame, we are basically, I would call a fully managed AI platform that helps rapidly increase the conversion rate of websites. We run these tests. We're able to do 10, 20x the velocity of creating tests, end to end from the engineering and design, all that. And so one of the key parts of that is ideating what tests to try, doing the experiment ideation. I found that to be a very, very high leverage skill that humans have. It doesn't take too long for humans to do it, but they have all this context. They have all this like knowledge from previous experiences and so on. And that has been difficult to get AI to replicate properly. And so what we typically do at CoFrame is we still have humans coming up with the general strategy and the ideas and the high leverage work. And then, but we've like automated most of the rest of it. So things that are very good, AI is very good at, like things like code generation, creating and writing code. Now it's good at creating and writing user interface like design as well. Copywriting can be good or bad depending on the type of copywriting.
I think it depends too on everything. It's about how you train it. When I just go to ChatGPT and say, create me this, it's horrible. But if I create a custom GPT and I give it 20 different documents and knowledge base, like it's pretty spot on. Other than it always puts in stupid emojis. I'm like, and I don't care how many times. Look, if you ever see Sam Altman or anybody at OpenAI and tell them, be like, if I say don't use emojis, don't fucking use emojis.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. That'll be the next message.
Yeah, Jason said this, jackass. Like, stop. Like, program it. I'm sure they'll respect that one. Yeah.
Remove emojis from your vernacular entirely.
Yes.
That's funny.
Or the double dash, right? Or fluff.
Yeah.
Fluff, double dash, and emojis. That's my 3 indicators that you're unoriginal.
Yeah, totally. The LinkedIn headline with emojis in it. Classic.
I should actually post something on LinkedIn right now and put the rocket emoji, a double dash, and no fluff, right? And just be like, that's it, and see what people do.
So good.
I'm going to do that right after this.
I can't wait to see it. I'll react. I'll comment with a couple of emojis of my own.
Yeah, I like how you have the human element in it, because I don't think AI is at that point where I look at it as it is incredible for data and interpreting data. Like, there's no human being, I don't think, ever existed that can go through the amount of data that AI can do and give us kind of suggestions. The suggestions are okay, but crunching the data is unbelievable. And then where I look at it, because people are like, I see people on the internet now trying to create a whole AI agency. And I think that's a mistake right now. I don't think there's a capability there. And plus, I think a lot of people want to talk to people.
Yeah, that's right.
There's certain people, probably like you and I, that probably don't need an agency, because we can ask questions to AI, get the results, and then kind of come up with things from that. But the other people are like, I want to talk to someone. I want to run my business. I don't want to geek out, nerd out, whatever it is. I just want someone to go do it. You agree?
Yeah, absolutely. People have their own preferences, and that's one of the maybe like within my circles, this is a contrarian viewpoint, but I do feel that there's always going to be this human element, because people are going to value that connection, and that's going to be impossible to replace for a very, very long time. It just like, even with like robotics and mechatronics, like really developing and so on, like for a very long time, we're not going to replace that human element. And so I think that's spot on. Now, in terms of outcomes, I do think that AI has immense potential to kind of create transformative outcomes. I mean, we're seeing that frankly with our own business, right? With CoFrame, like it's able to, when in our specific case, like there's no way a human could, spit out a brand new test within the course of an hour that would have taken several weeks to do. Or to your point, look across an immense amount of data and just like kind of consider all of it at the same time. And that's extremely helpful for ideation and that kind of stuff. But that human element, that's actually something that was a prevalent thing in my last business as well, where it was like these were digital assets, but like the value behind them was the human, right? The human experience that you had and what it represented. So
exactly. And I also look at it too, is especially a lot of people are creating technology that is using AI, kind of like, I was telling you before we, turned on the interview, I guess in the pre-interview, about askquick.ai, right? Like where a lot of people have these tools, but we go into the tool and we don't know what to ask. Like if I just go, look, we've connected AI into QuickBooks, just ask it whatever you want. Sometimes people are like, I don't know what to ask it. And that's where the humans come in of going, well, this is what I would want. Can I afford this employee? When do I run out of money? Where am I losing money with this client or whatever it is, right? Like help prompt the person to know what questions to ask. And then that opens up versus all these tools out there, just like ask it whatever you want. It's kind of a blank canvas. And I think a lot of us kind of get nervous with that.
Yeah. I fully agree. 100%. And that's the thing that I think we're not going to be able to replace is like, understanding each other and really just like feeling like someone like a living being kind of just like understands you. Now, AI can be very, very good at helping you figure that out. You can go back and forth with it. It can ask, it can prompt you back. It can be trained to prompt you. It's good at identifying common use cases, all that stuff. But the empathetic piece of it is difficult or maybe impossible to replace.
I for the past 3 months, I've been battling. I had surgery on my foot and it went terribly wrong. And so I've been on this knee scooter. And so like I have an open wound that won't close. And so I started I don't trust some of these doctors, especially the idiots that did this to me. So I've been taking pictures of it, uploading it to AI. And I'm like, here's, give me some suggestions. I don't prefer everyone to do this, but I was like, how is it, what's it going to tell me? And it was sympathetic. It was like I literally got to a point where I was going to take an axe and cut the toe off. Or I even looked at like doing a skin graft, cutting some of my ass off and putting it, and it was like, no, Jason, I understand you're frustrated with this. Don't do that. And here's the number to call if you're right. Like, yeah. And then, the wound's getting better and I'll post it. And then I kept thinking, I was like, is it just always going to give me the positive, right? Like, when you ask it, you're like, is this a good idea? Yeah, I love this idea. This is a great idea. So I was like, let me post an old photo. And then it was like, dude, you need to go to the emergency room right away. I was like, no, I was just testing you out. And it was like, oh, good one, Jason. It was amazing how it sympathized with me. I could not believe it.
No, absolutely. I mean, they certainly have the ability to sympathize in that respect. I was similar story yesterday, not nearly as extreme as yours. I've been on a fast. This is my 5th day fasting now, not eating anything. And yesterday I was at the gym and I had the opportunity to weigh myself, and I was trying to think like, how accurate is Claude? I was using Anthropic, but how accurate is Claude going to be at predicting how much weight I will lose? And, I was putting my stats, like, 6'1", 180 pounds, whatever. And I said, hey, like, given me, how much weight do you think I'll lose after 5 days? And it's like, well, make sure you're careful about it, but 3 to 5 pounds or whatever it said, or 3 to 7 pounds. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. How about 7 days? And it says, well, you're getting into some dangerous territory, but here's how much. And then I said, how about after 12 days? And it was like, you should just not do that. Like, go see a doctor. That's dangerous. And it didn't even tell me the answer. And I prompted after. I was like, how much weight? And it said, well, reluctantly, like basically said, an answer. I think it was like, 15 or 20 pounds. But these models have been aligned. So that's the term that they use in the industry, which is alignment. So, and that's going to be a very important concept in the coming years as we start to see performance beyond human performance in every category, is ensuring that these systems are aligned with our interests, our human interests, and can be like measurably aligned in that sense, and sort of they not just fool the benchmarks, but also like truly be aligned and be monitored and observed by weaker systems and so on. But yeah, these models have been specifically preference fine-tuned for positivity for the most part. I mean, every model has kind of its own character and persona because of the way that they've done the RLHF, or they're doing it over time. And that's why you're seeing it be, positive and empathetic. But, you can very easily have a completely different personality. You look at Grok, and their strategy is specifically to be like countercultural, truth-seeking, like non-PC,
like Elon.
Wouldn't you know?
Never would have thought that one.
And that's led to some interesting. I think it's going to be what the research says is, I've seen this actually personally training models is, you do have a decrease in quality on performance on benchmarks when you do alignment to a specific goal that is out of the natural kind of realm of it, right? If you're just training on the internet data set, broadly speaking, it's not going to be a model that's very PC. It's going to be very, it just is what it is. It's like reflecting the internet. And then you align it. And then people refer to this as lobotomization, lobotomize the model, and kind of, it does make it dumber in some sense, even though it's like, acting more kind and aligned and so on. So it's an interesting trade-off.
Well, it's all fascinating and changing so much. Like by the time this goes live in a couple months, it will all be different.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
which is crazy.
It's what a time to be alive. It's so great.
Yeah. So awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. And if you all enjoyed this, make sure you go check out their company and their software. And until next time, have a swank day.